We're here at Box's fancy new headquarters in Redwood City, joined by Levie, who runs this place. Thanks for joining me. You've come a long way since you first started this as a student at USC.
Yep.
So how have things changed over the years?
I want to clarify one point, our modest new headquarters in Redwood City, but the original idea was we wanted to make it easy to just share and access information from anywhere. And we've had a lot of fun in the process. We now focus entirely on the enterprise market. It has been pretty cool to start in our dorm room and scale up this far.
There's a lot of competition out there.
Yeah.
You compete with Dropbox, Google Drive, you partner with Microsoft. How do you differentiate yourself from the others?
Ultimately, what we tend to replace is a lot of the core infrastructure that used to be inside of the data center of an enterprise. So their storage infrastructure, their document management software, their security technology. We move all of the, we sort of compress all of those capabilities and deliver that via the cloud. So that way that customers don't have to have that same infrastructure when they want to manage their data, when they want to be able to share and collaborate from anywhere.
You went public last year. Tech stocks haven't been doing so well lately. Box has been trading a little below its IPO price. What are investors getting about Box?
Actually, I think that in general, investors understand the story and kind of what we're up to. You will always have different perspectives. So some investors want us to spend less money and invest, sort of less in growth. Some investors want us to invest more in growth and just focus on the top line revenue. And our job is to balance that mix of growth and profitability. And I think we found that balance, but we obviously need to continue to make sure that investors understand, our strategy and where we're going.
And there were actually 0 tech IPOs in the first quarter of this year, which is pretty bad.
Yep.
Partly because it's been so tough for everyone that went public recently. Do you like being the CEO of a public company, or do you kind of just wish that you could go back to the days of being private?
Actually, I've enjoyed it so far. I think it creates new challenges. There are new rhythms in the business because you have obviously the quarterly earnings process. That's a little bit different than how we were doing things privately. And you certainly increase the number of investors that you have to be able to communicate with and make sure are understanding your strategy. But it's also come with a lot of benefits. So because of the nature of our business model and the fact that we sell to enterprises, we are able to drive a lot more transparency, in our business that creates better recognition, better understanding in the customer base.
Lately, you've been very vocal about Apple and Microsoft and some of their concerns about what they consider to be government overreach with government data requests.
Yep.
What do you think the government should be doing differently?
Yeah, so this is something that's very close to home for us because when you sell a cloud technology to the enterprise, ultimately you're selling trust. You're selling the trust in the service that customer is going to be leveraging to help them secure their data and work with their information. When the FBI first went after Apple, that was a really kind of serious move in this industry because it was really the first moment where the government was requesting that a technology company actually break its own security. That could have created a massive precedent for any technology company to, again, fundamentally have to weaken its technology and weaken its security. So we were very much in favor of Apple, and on the side of Apple, we signed an amicus brief with Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Amazon, and others. We are in a very different era in terms of how we're going to manage and store and collaborate and communicate in the world. And our laws and our policies and the approaches that governments are taking are not catching up with the new way that we're working and or the new ways that we're communicating or leveraging technology. And so our approach is actually, can we have a more modern landscape for how the government is expecting to work with technology companies and to work in sort of the digital era.
Has the government hurt your business at all? Is there a perception overseas that the U.S. government would invade the privacy of anyone using a U.S. technology company for their data?
I think there has been concern, in general, created more friction internationally. It certainly doesn't accelerate, business and the ability to work globally. We've built a lot of technology to try and combat or counteract that friction. So two recent technology updates that we worked on. The first was letting customers actually manage their own encryption keys. This is a new technology called Box Key Safe. So that gives the control back to the customer, so they can actually control the data that they're using in the cloud. And then a recent announcement that we just made this week in London was Box Zones. So that lets customers actually keep their data stored in the region of their choice. And we announced that in Germany, Ireland, Tokyo, and Singapore.
So the US government can't access it if you're stored in London, for
correct.
example. Okay.
So that way you actually have that data residency that different regulatory environments or different countries require internationally.
And so what's your vision for Box 5 years from now? Where's Box headed?
I think over the next couple of years, it's still going to be about how do enterprises leverage the cloud to become more efficient, to become more collaborative, to become more productive. Our product is going to continue to focus on how do we take what is today a very, very complex problem for businesses, which is how do you access data from anywhere on any device, anywhere around the world? How do you share with anyone? And how do you have your business go more digital in a world where you have massive security issues, where there are massive regulatory challenges, where there are massive privacy issues? How do we actually simplify all of that complexity? So our product and our platform is really about how do we make sure that as the world gets more complex for customers, the way that they collaborate and share actually gets simpler over time. So over the next 5 years, it's a continued focus and a continued march toward making sure that we can make it so enterprises have a completely seamless way that they can work in the cloud.
Sounds like you have your work cut out for you.
We do. There's going to be a lot more of this. So.
Well, thank you for inviting us to your new headquarters. Now let's go play some ping pong.
Okay.